back to My Pop Sports. This is Grandy. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for checking out this video, checking out the channel. You guys are returning, welcome back, guys. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend. Pretty busy for me. I had a lot of kid activities, things I had to do this weekend, and obviously I did a whatnot show over the weekend, so that did pretty decent, did well. And gearing up for the show this weekend. So make sure if you guys are in the Denver area this coming up weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I think in December, was it 13th, 14th, 15th, I'll be at the North Glen Delta Center. They're doing, it's a suburb of Denver area, so swing by there. It's a 3-day card show. I will have 3 tables. I got some inventory, some wax, just a bunch of stuff. I'll be there. Should be fun. Can't wait. It's the last show of the year, so I'm pretty excited about that. So make sure you guys swing by. Just say hi. Say hi. I'll have a couple tables there. So other than that, just kind of going through the natural things of listing on eBay and everything, and just kind of making sure, you know, I'm hitting my daily goals of how many listings I got. You know, you get sidetracked certain things, and I'll probably do a video about getting sidetracked and getting back into the flow of things and everything. So I got to make sure I got to hit my goals and just kind of don't get sidetracked in regards to that, especially with the eBay store. So I gotta continually grow it. So in other words, but this week today, just want to talk about why I feel, this is my personal opinion, my thoughts, why I feel local card shops go out of business. People who try to sell cards full-time don't last. Just sports card businesses in general, why they don't work out, why they don't succeed, why don't they stick around forever, things like that. So we'll start here. Number one, and I don't know how many there's going to be on this, so I'll try to keep this a shorter video. But number one, I feel like expectations don't match up with reality. When I say that is people who are getting to sports cards, whether you're opening up a shop, whether you're selling online, whether you're just doing card shows, whatever the case may be, if you're just getting to the business, your expectations never, I guess you can say reality never meets your expectations. That's the saying. And the reason being is because a lot of people get into this, you know, thinking that, oh, it's easy. I have high valued cards, or I have a ton of valued, nice looking cards, whatever. I should be able to flip and sell these for a profitable margin all the time. That's not the case. Obviously, if you guys don't know by now, it's a lot more difficult than you think. And I think once people are able to bring reality to somewhat come close to expectations, I feel like then they'll be able to be successful and have that longevity of staying in business or continually, selling sports cards. Because once reality checks in for people who are getting to the sports card industry or world business, once reality kicks in, a lot of times people get deflated, and that's where you see people getting out of the hobby, people quitting, people not being successful, not being profitable, things like that. Is because once you get deflated, your enthusiasm, your work ethic, everything suffers. So that's the biggest thing is that. Number two, sports cards is just not as profitable as people truly think. People think that, you see the value of cards so high, and if you can get it for so low, you can open up a box. Like I said, it's gambling. It's a lottery ticket, right? So people don't think about that when you're getting to the business aspect. They just think it's super high profitable. It really isn't. I mean, a lot of times, especially even like those brick and mortar stores, when you're trying to sell wax, things like that, the profit margin of those things are slim to none, guys. I mean, if you don't know that, like if you go buy a hobby box, you go buy some of those boxes, a lot of these stores, if they even have an agreement, from the distributor or Fanatics or just whatever, the manufacturer companies and stuff like that, even if they have the connection, they're not getting it at completely like discounted wholesale prices. A lot of times they buy in bulk, they get a decent deal. However, they have to sell at specific certain prices. That's why you go to the local shops and they're very priced highs because they're trying to be as profitable as possible. But keep in mind, they're not making that much off of that stuff. So it's as simple as that. A lot of brick and mortar stores probably make more profit off of the dollar boxes than you think. Slabs, things like that, whatever they can, make profitable, sales on. So I'm telling you that wax stuff is not as highly profitable. Sports cars in general is not very highly profitable that people always think. You might hear the one or two sales here and there, or, on a weekly basis, or you see on social media, or you see on YouTube, things like that. And it's like, holy shit, that seems so profitable. I can make 3-4 times X my money. But people don't take into consideration that might be, 1 out of 10, 1 out of 15 cars that the other ones maybe barely sold at, break even, or maybe at a loss or a little bit of profit. That one card or that one sale makes it look like extravagantly high profitable margins. So it's not always, high profits, and then people, I think, don't realize that. So that's why a lot of businesses don't survive or don't make it, is because it's just not very as profitable as you think. Another reason why I feel like stores aren't successful, especially brick and mortars, I feel like it's just a massive overhead cost. A lot of people who jump into the business don't realize that. I myself really wanted to open up a brick and mortar. I really was. I was contemplating, looking at spots, looking at places to rent, lease out, start my own business in regards to a brick and mortar. But what you don't realize is that the overhead, the cost, everything from lease. I mean, the size of the building you want to lease, right? Depending on your location. If you're going to be in a city like I am currently in Denver, go try and lease a commercial building that's like 800 or 900 square feet. It's enormous, right? The location, things like that. And then that doesn't even include the insurance, doesn't even include inventory that you got to keep stock. That's expense. You got to keep in mind gas, like electricity, marketing, all those expenses people don't realize is an extremely high overhead to run this business. Actually, in any business, right? However, as I mentioned prior to this, profitable margin in sports cars is just not that much. So then when you have a high overhead and the profit margin is not that great, 1 + 1 = 2, right? So that's why a lot of the businesses don't survive. I think because the overhead, whether you take it into consideration that or not, then you have to price accordingly. And then you got to figure it out how to get people through that door to buy stuff. And that's the marketing aspect. So you got a high overhead on that end. This is not even including labor. I mean, you haven't, all that stuff. So it's a very high, I feel like, expense to run this business. And then I feel like a lot of people don't take that into consideration in the pricing. And then, like I say, if you don't make enough sales, you're not going to stay in business. You don't have enough to cover all of your overhead. So I think that's a huge, huge reason why businesses don't survive in regards to the sports cars world. Number 4, or the next one, the reason why I feel like people who get into sports card or opening up a brick and mortar are not successful, things like that. Like I said, this is my thoughts only, and from my experience and what I see. So I feel like a lot of people who get into the sports cards world at first don't realize how much time you have to dedicate to be successful and to make this a full-time gig. So I think a lot of people do it part-time at the beginning, thinking, you know what, I can do this as a side hustle, great. And then you realize, oh, I made so much money, blah, 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 last week or last month. Shit, imagine if I do this full-time. I could probably 10x how much I make, right? But that's the thing. I don't think people realize how much time you have to dedicate to grow your business, whether it's marketing, whether it's sales, whether it's going to shows, whether it's doing whatnot, whether it's doing eBay, ComC, all that stuff is very time consuming. It is work, man. It's your business, right? So when people truly realize that when you have to dedicate your time, it's an 8 to 14-hour work day at times. At least I am. I'm working probably 10 to 12. Like I said, I probably work doing this way more than I did any corporate job I've ever had. I really do. And it's not and do I make as much as those corporate gigs? I don't. At least currently I don't. So I'm gonna let you guys know right up front on that. But I'm trying to make this successful. I'm trying to make it sustainable, and I understand it's going to be a work in progress for the next year or two. I totally understood that. But that's the thing about people don't realize, that when you put all your time and effort into it, it's going to take a lot of time. People don't realize that you're not going to instantly be successful. So the amount of time invested in it, you can't just think it's going to be a side gig and you're going to be okay with it. That's the same thing with the brick and mortar stores. A lot of people who probably go into it, I've seen this happen, and they do it part-time. They're not a full-time yet on the shop. They're thinking that once they can grow that shop and that store to be really successful, have so many people and so many customer base, then they can do it full-time. But that's the thing. When you do a side hustle and you only spend 4 or 5 hours a day on average, or even less than that on that side hustle, that side building, you're not putting your total 100% effort into it. So there's the ability for it to grow and be successful. It's actually more slim. So a lot of people have a full-time job, then they think they can just open up a brick and mortar store and just work that in the evenings or in the weekends, right? Never works that way. I mean, it does at the beginning, but then they start realizing, man, they're pulling themselves thin. They're spreading themselves out too much, and the shop either closed down, they sell it to somebody else, then those people have to do the same situation. It's just, and that's why a lot of people don't realize that it's very difficult to be successful in regards to opening a brick and mortar, especially if you're only doing a side hustle. So it's the amount of time you have to put into it. You have to put more time than you truly anticipate. Another thing is that not having enough capital. I think a lot of people don't realize that when you're starting sports car business, whether, like I said, online, brick and mortar, you have to have quite a bit of capital. A lot of expenses at the very beginning, everything from the lease to marketing to all that stuff. You have to put a lot of cash up front to do all that stuff, right? And then inventory, you still have to, just because you have your old collection from many odd years ago, is that going to be enough? Is that going to be what people want? People want new, old things. You got to have a vast variety, right? So that includes capital. You need a lot of capital to go and purchase that inventory, all that stuff. And then, like I said, they cover all the costs, expenses, things like that. So I don't know, people thinking, if I have $10,000, I can just go ahead and just start this business. I have my old collection from before. In my estimation, that's not even close to having enough and being enough, because you got to keep in mind, as I told before, the first several months you might not sell shit. It might take a long time for you to start selling cars and to make enough profit to even live on, let alone. So that's the thing. When you have capital, you got to make sure you have enough capital to sustain for the first 6, 7, 8, 9 months where you're not going to be making any money, so you can live off something, right? So you got to have enough capital to compensate for that. So people don't take that into consideration. They just think they have a certain amount of money, some inventory, and they can just start a business. It doesn't work that way. Wish people just take that into thoughts and everything. Another main reason why I feel like a lot of people who get into the sports car industry, whether going to shows, brick and mortar, why I don't feel they're as successful is because they don't track everything. When I say that, I'm talking about everything from their expenditures, expenses. They don't track how much they sell on a weekend at a show. They don't track how much are they selling on a daily basis, profitable margins, expenses, all that stuff. People don't track anything. You go to card shows, people laugh at me because I say, oh, hold on, let me look at the back of that card, because I have my inventory numbers on the back, and I always track my inventory and see how I did at per show on a daily basis. And then I track, obviously, my eBay sales, my whatnot sales. I track everything, how much I spend on a monthly basis for inventory. I track all those things. People don't do that. You go to shows, people just selling flop, blah, 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 and it's gone, right? You got to track those things. I feel like if you don't track those things, at least you don't have to do every individual day, but if you can at least do it on a weekly basis, start, small, go big. So if you want to do it per sale, that's fine, or per week, per month, per quarter, things like that. But you still have to track it, because if you don't know if you're doing good or not. I mean, you're just guessing. Maybe you made a sale for $5,000 card. In your eyes, you bought that car for $3,000, right? You're like, shit, I just made $2,000 profit. I am good. But you don't take in consideration, you bought those tables, right, at the car show, your travel expense, your food expense. You got to calculate all the other cars that you probably lost that you may have bought for $100 and you sold for $50. So you don't consider. So that $2,000 profit margin, people, by not tracking it, they don't realize it goes to zero. So that's the thing is, a lot of people don't track their stuff and maintain that and just to see how well they're doing, good or bad on that end. Another thing that I've definitely see reason why people are not as successful in the sports card industry and sports cards world, they lose the love for it. And when I say the love for it, the love for sports cards, the love for sports towards the end, because it's a business and it's not always glitz and glamour. It's not always fun. There's going to be moments where it sucks ass. There's going to be ups and downs. Sometimes there's downs for many weeks, right? So they lose their energy, the love for that, realizing that you're not always going to be up here. Your feeling, your mentality, your sales, everything. There's going to be moments when the peaks are very, very low. So people lose their ambition to continue their business and then make this fun. So that's why you see all those posts all the time on Facebook, getting out of the hobby, selling my, liquidizing all my collection, selling my collection, blah, 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 right? It's because a lot of time people end up losing that energy for it because their expectation didn't meet reality. It always goes back to that number one. Expectation never met reality, and it's a lot harder than people really, really think. And that's the thing is, then you lose that mojo to continue your business and continue to try to make it successful. So that's a big thing. I definitely see that a lot, actually, a lot more than you think. A lot of negativity happens when that creeps in once you get on that downer mode. So there you guys go. So I hate to see it, but you see it way more than you don't see it, to tell you the truth on that. Another thing that I feel like really, really affects the success of sports card sales, sports card industry, is the ability to understand the cost of living. People forget cost of living is not cheap. Don't care where you live, right? Everything from food, roof over the head, all that stuff. You have to understand when you're getting to sports card, I want to say 99.9999% of the time, you're not going to be a millionaire from it. I don't care if you had the highest, biggest brick and mortar store in the nation. I don't care if you have the biggest eBay store, the biggest it really doesn't matter. It's very, very difficult for it to become $1 million business, right? Or even a $300,000 profitable business. Is very, very, very difficult. I came into this industry, I've been a collector for many years, but I knew that I'm not going to become a millionaire. My expectation understood that. I knew it wasn't going to be that, so I adapted my way of living and how I live to fit this business aspect. I understood that I was going to need help from my significant other in regards to specific things, whether it's like health insurance for me and my family, things like that, while I do this business. However, understanding that this gives me the flexibility to be able to take care of my family, whether, other things on the board on that. And so it's setting yourself up for success is understanding that what sports cards will bring you is not a ton of money. That's it. At the end of the day, I hate it when people think that you're making a ton of money because you're making a $5,000 sale, $100 sale all the time, thinking you're gonna have tons of money, tons of capital, fluid, moving left and right. It just doesn't work that way. I wish people would bring their expectations down to reality. So at the end of the day, that is the biggest thing of why sports card, local shops, sports card businesses, online, anything never it's sustainable is because a lot of them, the reason being, their expectations never meet reality. Especially when it comes to sales, things like that. And then when that happens, so many things creep in. If you're not making sales, then all of a sudden you're down, then your motivation to keep listing or to keep selling or to go to shows drops. Your energy level drops. Sales fail. It's a domino effect on that end. Expenses are still going to still be there. That's it, man. I'm telling you, I think that's the biggest thing is that expectations never meet reality, and then people don't understand that that's a big part of it. And then what do you do once that happens? Once your expectations up here, once reality is here, what do? Do you quit? A lot of people do. Do you find a way around it? Do you find a solution for it? That's where I'm at currently. I hit these roadblocks. Sales has sucked for whatever months. A couple months ago, it was rough for me, right? What do? I had to readjust, find different ways to get revenue. You just got to kind of figure it out, understanding once, your expectations aren't met. So that's the biggest thing. That's my biggest tip for anybody who's looking to get into sports card industry or open up a sports card shop. I had a lot of people hit me up about that. Why I don't, I'm pretty sure you guys do know by now. It's just because of my situation doesn't allow me currently to be able to do that. But at the end of the day, bring your expectations to reality level and then just keep working and grinding. That's why they say it's a grind, guys. Don't lose that energy. Don't lose that positive why you started this. You love sports. You love sports cards. That's why you guys are here watching this video, watching me, right? Not because it's easy. Don't do that. I want you guys to get that out of your head right now, okay? It's not easy, but like I said, just keep going at it. Hopefully you become successful. Hopefully you can make a couple bucks. And at the end of the day, if you only end up doing this as a side hustle, this will always be, it may not always be a full-time gig for me on down the road in 5-10 years, but it'll always be a side thing that I'll always do. I will never go away from it. I love sports. I love sports cards. So there you guys go on that end. So other than that, sorry this video is longer than I anticipated, but hopefully that kind of gives you guys a little bit of a heads up of why I feel certain businesses, sports card industries don't work, certain brick and mortars don't work or not sticking around. And this is the main reason why. So if you guys like this stuff, feel free to subscribe. If you have not subscribed, I still appreciate you guys watching my video all the way through this point, and I really do appreciate that. Half of you guys who watch this is the truth. Half of you guys watch this are subscribers, half of you guys are not. So, and it's all good, man. I still appreciate that you guys are at least interested in the hobby and interested in this overall. So, other than that, man, don't forget, check out my eBay store, Whatnot. Link all in the description. I don't know if I'm gonna have another Whatnot show this week. I have that card show I gotta prep for, so I gotta weigh those odds. So I might have to take another week off of Whatnot for a little bit. So I'll come back to that. eBay store I will always keep listing on a daily basis. So make sure you guys check that out. Every card should have a opportunity to put an offer. So make sure you guys put an offer in. I'll try to respond as soon as possible. Hopefully I see everybody at the card show next week. Other than that, Golden State Warriors, saving grace. They're doing okay. Came back. Iowa Hawkeye women just lost their first one. Tough loss. Iowa Hawkeye men football team. Hey, going to a bowl. I know it's in Tennessee, but it is what it is. Chicago Bears. Let's not talk about them. I just go golf on Sundays now. I honestly, God, don't watch the Bears. Sadly, this might be the first year in many years. But for my blood pressure level, I'm going to take a break of watching Chicago Bears football for a while, guys. So other than that, man, have a good rest of the week. Till next time.